Welcome to the TEK2day podcast powered by CEO Rater. It's your host, John Mayetta. We've published a lot of content since we came to you last on this podcast. We covered Treasury wanting more consumer spending and working with banks to encourage lending to those without credit history. You could read about that at TEK2day. Just another disaster coming out of the government. Amazon Pharmacy and them ramping up their marketing effort. Amazon obviously is going to disrupt retail pharmacy in a big way. We covered PayPal and Google Cloud expanding their relationship, and we touch on whether that could foreshadow a future M&A transaction with Google acquiring PayPal. Google Shopify partnership came out of Google I/O. We did not write about that. Just off the cuff, I feel a little bit differently as to the strategic implications of a prospective PayPal deal and a prospective Shopify deal. Google can create value through a plain old everyday partnership with Shopify. It can extend Google Commerce's reach by partnering with Shopify. So I don't see a reason as to why, just thinking about this quickly, as to why Google should want to acquire Shopify. On the PayPal side, however, Google needs to figure a way to bolster Google Pay to drive adoption of that offering. Google needs to extend the reach of Google Commerce, and a partnership with PayPal. And what's going on there is PayPal is hosting elements of its infrastructure and products on Google's cloud. So it's not a partnership whereby it's a marketing partnership or a go-to-market partnership. It's more of a customer relationship, if you will. But bringing PayPal into the fold has some real strategic advantages for Google. And so I'll point you to that article. And we published that over the past few days. We touched on, in addition to those previously mentioned articles, we published a note on AT&T and its spinning Warner Media. You know, it was January 2020. We talked about why AT&T should sell off or divest Warner Media because it would be difficult for AT&T to scale the communication side of the business and compete with Verizon and all the new entrants in the world of communication. When you think about the various messaging apps. Difficult to focus on that side of the business when you have to worry about providing grist for the mill for the content engine. So we sort of follow up on that January 20 article with this more recent article published several days ago. I think it was literally the day after we published the AT&T note, Amazon, and MGM, that rumor hit the mill, and we touched on that in a second article. Last night we published a piece around electric vehicles, electricity, the Biden administration, and how if the Biden administration is truly serious around creating a new source of green energy to power this electric future, if you will, then it's going to have to get serious about nuclear energy because wind, solar, hydro, those technologies aren't mature enough to to generate electricity cost effectively at scale to power a nation. And so we give you some data. I believe it was the Department of Energy. We put some data out there as to the sources of energy production in the United States the most recent data as of 2020 and compare that to 2019, and you can see kind of what sources are gaining share, if you will, and which sources are losing share. And then the one I wanted to touch on tonight, which is sort of away from the world of macroeconomics and fiscal policy and monetary policy. It's been hard to get away from those topics since the first Trump stimulus spending program of last year, given the massive distortions fiscal and monetary policy have caused in the stock market, in the economy, in people's psyches, frankly, where we have this class of people home collecting federal unemployment, when we would much rather have them productive in society. I just saw a sign today, and I double-checked it on Indeed because I wanted to make sure I read it correctly. Up in Kennebunk, Maine, McDonald's hiring at $13.50 an hour, which I wish I had the number from last year, but that's up appreciably. And we've written 2 or 3 notes around this over the past month around how the government is causing wage inflation and effectively competing with small business. And we'll have a note coming out about that on Monday. Just there's inflation everywhere. Grocery store looks like on average around 30% price inflation, doing the mental math on where we shop. So today's article was around linking variable compensation to desired outcomes. And I was thinking back to my own experience reporting to a CEO and thinking back to companies I used to be in regular contact with, whether they be public or private companies, during my investment banking days, where that's how I would spend my day every day talking to companies. And I can't think of an instance whereby I met a company whereby a given CEO had a very detailed variable compensation plan for his or her direct reports. Meaning, in addition to having X percentage of total compensation being variable comp, which is largely at the discretion of the CEO, is how companies typically do it. I can't think of an instance where a CEO had a detailed plan for what the component parts of that variable compensation would be. And this goes from my investment banking days as well. And so what I wrote about in this morning's article was how if you're doing an M&A deal and you want to incentivize the management team of the acquired company, typically what you would do is you'd set aside a management bonus or a management incentive plan that could be X, Y, and Z dollars, and the management team would get paid out X dollars if revenue hit a certain level, profitability hit a certain level, perhaps if they had a successful rollout of a new product that was extremely important to that particular business. But certainly you would have an incentive program based around revenue and profitability levels. And so if it hit one bogey, they would get paid out X. If it hit it was a little bit higher on the revenue and profitability lines, they would get paid out Y. And if they really knocked it out of the park, they would get paid out Z. And you could add as much detail to that incentive plan as is reasonable, right, in terms of your ability to track that performance. And so we do it on the M&A side. I'm just not sure why we don't do it on the employee side. It just seems sloppy. It seems lazy. I know it's difficult. And I know CEOs want to have discretion as maybe operating goals at a granular level change over the course of the year. Things are fluid, and so they want to maintain discretion because things are fluid. But I think more than anything, it just comes back to the fact that if a CEO wanted to put that level of detail into the variable compensation plans for each of his or her direct reports, it would be time consuming. Certainly not impossible, but it just takes time. And I think that people just don't want to spend the time to do certain things, whether they're frontline employees or CEOs. This variable compensation area is an area that I think it is worth spending the time on, because depending on how you structure variable compensation plans, the way you structure those plans drives employee behavior. Again, whether they're senior executives or frontline employees. Show me. What's the quote I had at the end of the article? If you show me your compensation plan, I can predict your employee behavior, and that's so true. And so, I think if as CEO, you take the time to break down the variable compensation component of your direct report's total compensation plan, and get granular, then you'll get a better ROI on your employees' effort, their work effort, over the course of a year. And it doesn't have to be super granular to where you are encouraging robotic behavior, but it can be principle based. And so, what was the example we provided in the article? And you'll see this with investment firms oftentimes, where they will have a variable compensation component for a particular team that works on a particular investment product, and the whole team kind of wins or loses together. And so the example we gave in the article was of a technology company that had a technology product rollout, and you would put, as to our line of thinking in this article, you would put a certain percentage of the team's variable compensation. You would tie a certain percentage of variable comp to this product launch. So if you think about it, everybody who touches the launch, so the product manager, software developers, engineers, architects, sales executives, the various sales support staff, marketing team members, even the finance team to a certain degree, insofar as they're working, they're helping to build a budget with the sales team. That should be a little bit of a push-pull, and you would tie product performance, the success of that launch, to variable compensation. And you could define success however you like, or product performance however you like. So you could incorporate an element of unit sales versus what was budgeted, so actual versus budget at the unit level, unit pricing. So were the salespeople, the marketing people, as an example, able to build enough equity in this new product such that they were able to maintain pricing, or in order to get deals done, do they have to haircut pricing, which isn't a good thing, right? So unit pricing versus the budget, customer satisfaction, as the product's been out there for several months and longer, and customers have had a chance to use the product or service. What do customers? How do they rate it? What's their experience? Good and bad, right? Even collecting that feedback should be something people are measured on. Good, bad, or indifferent. Show me the data around that feedback. The product feedback loop is so important. So your team's ability to capture that feedback should be something that they are incented to do through variable compensation. So that's just one example. We put that out there in today's article at TEK2day. That's all for now. See you next time.